Nothing about free markets, nothing about financial responsibility, nothing about limited government, nothing about the Constitution, nothing about the Bill of Rights, absolutely no policy of any kind. Where's her therapist? She can't complete a coherent statement about criticism, but she's been placed on a stage by the Department of Education and Turning Point USA to educate the next generation. Well done, Department of Education. Bravo. So I'm going to be showing you today the full video that has already sparked a lot of controversy and concern regarding Erika Kirk, the Turning Point USA CEO, speaking at Genoa-Kingston, Illinois High School on February 5th, 2026. And this was supposed to be a civics assembly co-branded by the United States Department of Education. Now, media was actually banned from this event. The only reason we have footage is because someone decided to take out their phone, a student, and record it and post it online. I'm going to actually do something I've never done before and react with a perspective of the mission of Turning Point USA in the mind of all of us as we move forward. And I will read you that mission statement. But first, you need to understand their own mission statement is the exact opposite of what we're seeing from Erika Kirk, especially at the school event that they hosted. We're going to watch in real time the things that she's saying and the actual event that she's speaking at versus their mission statement, what they're supposed to be doing. Because as we compare those two things, the mission statement and what she's saying at this school, these things are completely, totally, and devastatingly failing to match. Not even close, not even in the same zip code, not even in the same universe, to be honest. This is not about left versus right. This is about an organization that tells your school district that it's going to teach your kids about free markets, limited government, and the Constitution, and then sends a disheveled woman who cries about heaven and tells teenagers to be modest in a public school while the Secretary of Education stands right there on the stage or next to the stage next to her. Now, before we actually get into the video, I need you to hear something, and I'll just read you what it said. It's a direct quote from a senior at this high school. His name is Landon, and he attended this event. Which, by the way, the preface that you should understand is that this was happening, to my knowledge. What I read is that between 2:30 p.m. and 3 p.m., they were out of school waiting for school buses. And the students basically had no other option of doing anything besides going to this event and waiting while Erika Kirk speaks on stage for their buses to arrive. So in my humble opinion, I highly doubt any of them really wanted to be there. Anyways, that's besides the point. He says, it just felt like there wasn't education at all. You're handing me a bracelet that says, "We are Charlie Kirk." I'm just trying to learn about American history. That is a kid, a high school senior. He walked into an assembly that was branded as History Rocks, and he was told it was going to be about America's 250th birthday. He walked out holding branded merchandise for a dead political operative, and he's wondering why nobody taught him a single thing. So this is from Turning Point USA's own website. It's their stated organizational mission. So let's read it together. To identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government. Fiscal responsibility, free markets, limited government, that's the contract. That's what they tell the superintendent when they make the deal to go through that door and speak to students. That's what they put out on the paperwork. That's the deal that gets them access to your children's schools. We're here to teach your kids about the economy, about government, and how America's supposed to work. And this specific event was part of something called History Rocks Trail to Independence Tour, organized by the America 250 Civics Education Coalition. That coalition is led by the America First Policy Institute, run by Katie Gorka, wife of Sebastian Gorka, in partnership with the Department of Education under Secretary Linda McMahon. So for 30 minutes, students who didn't want to attend had no way to physically leave the building. They were stuck between the assembly and the parking lot with no ride home. You're literally a captive audience at this point. Just understand that. They're holding students captive, requiring them to go to this event with Erika Kirk looking like a mess, speaking to them about, well, I guess you're going to see, because it's quite ridiculous if you ask me.
Speak. He chose to use his voice for something so powerful. And I want you guys to understand that every decision will make a mark on your soul. It will. So as a young man, know that one day you're going to be a father. Know the way that you treat women, the way that you live your life every single day, it matters. Ladies, be that, be ladies, be modest. Live your life in a way that's honoring.
Where does a mark on your soul fit into any of that for school students? It doesn't. That's not history. That's not economics.
Don't compromise your character. You guys might think it's brave to go along with the crowd. You guys might think it's brave to laugh at certain things that aren't funny. But just know that people are watching, and one day you might be in a position of leadership that people will look back on your life 12, 13, 15 years, and they'll say, wow, you made those choices, you made those decisions. Yeah, in those moments. But my aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of the newspaper. Live your life in that way. Not because you're being constricted, not because you're afraid, but because you hold yourself to a higher standard. And I want to encourage you guys to do that. And I also want to encourage you guys, don't compromise your character. There's no reason to do that. You might think it's cool to insult people. You might think, the man that took my husband's life, he made a choice over a course of time.
The man took my husband's life. He made a choice over a course of time. He made the wrong decision consistently over his life. This right here is talking about choices, telling students not to assault people, and then mid-sentence, she pivots. She just described her husband's assassination to a room full of high school students of a civics assembly, and then she linked teenage decision-making to a murderer's life trajectory in the same breath. Think about the psychological weight of a 15-year-old sitting there. You've been told that this is about history, and suddenly the woman on stage looking like this, speaking like that, is connecting your choices, your daily decisions as a teenager to the kind of person who murders someone. This is a fear-based influence technique. It's not subtle either, and it has nothing to do with free markets, limited government, or responsibility of finances that conservative TPUSA had put on the application to get inside that building.
And so I again am so grateful to be here because this is where it all started for Charlie. And it was always so special for him because he understood that there's something so much greater when you sorry, it's just been really emotional these past few days. I apologize.
She's apologizing to teenagers for her own emotional state at a History Rocks assembly where she's supposed to be teaching them about America's foundation. I want you to imagine being a 15-year-old in that room. You're watching an adult, the CEO of a multi-hundred million, if not billion-dollar corporation, breaking down and crying on stage while talking about her husband's murder that you didn't sign up for. You were told it was a history event. You couldn't leave because the buses aren't here yet. And now you're watching someone else's trauma unfold in real time, and you don't have the tools to process it because you were a kid. This is not education. This is an adult dumping emotional weight onto minors who do not consent on carrying it, and nor should they. I put this on the school and the people that allowed this to happen.
Something that's so important when even with understanding the character on the internet, it's so easy to hide behind a keyboard. It is so easy to press send after typing something out that you think will have no ramifications, but it does. There's someone on the other end of that computer, under the phone, and so as you go about your life and understanding that choices do mold you. I just want to encourage you guys to be bold and fearless. Not everyone is called to be on the front lines. That's okay. Support those that are. Pray for those. Be there for them in ways that you could not even imagine, but just know that the enemy would love nothing more than to confuse you, to put you in a position where you don't think your life matters or someone else's doesn't matter, but it does. And so, just remember, again, every choice that you make, is it bringing you closer, for me, closer to heaven? That's my focus now. Closer to heaven, closer to being the person that God has told you to be, or is it bringing you further away? When someone's criticizing you, is it constructive criticism, or is it criticism that is going to harm you? If it's not going to harm you and it's constructive, take heart of it, pray over it.
She can't even get the words out of her mouth. This is embarrassing. She is obviously not in a position to be speaking in front of minors, talking about emotional whatever is going on. This is very bad. If this was happening at my kid's school, I would be pissed. I'll be honest with you. I would be pissed. She can't even finish a sentence. She tries to say destructive criticism. Then she attempts to somehow say constructed to heart whatever, which makes no sense in any context. Then she abandons the thought entirely and moves to something completely different. This is not nerves or nervousness. This is not a stumble. This is what happens when someone's cognitive load is completely stretched. It's exceeded. Her emotional processing is consuming so much mental bandwidth that her language center can't actually even maintain basic coherent structuring. Executive function of her brain is compromised. Working memory is overloaded. And she's supposed to be teaching these kids about American history and civic engagement, and she can't complete a coherent statement about criticism, but she's been placed on a stage by the Department of Education and Turning Point USA to educate the next generation. Well done, Department of Education. Bravo. This is what TPUSA brought to the school that day, and this is the quality of education that your tax dollars are spending. That's what's bringing our children up today.
But again, the reason why high schools are so important to me, when I was talking to POTUS a few weeks ago, I told him, I said, something that's really special is the fact that these students, a lot of them, how many of you guys going to vote in the midterms? Any of you old enough yet? That's awesome. I want to know why. I want to know why that's important to you. And I even told POTUS, I want to know what's on their heart and mind that I can share back with you once I hear, because I want to know, I will never forget the first time I ever voted. Ever. And I want you guys to harness that same heartstring, because using your voice that way is very powerful than the other. God bless you. So when you guys do have a chance, please make sure you guys go out and do that straw poll that's out there. But again, I just want to encourage you, guys and girls, please, there's so much more to life than what's in these four walls. I told Charlie that his last day on earth, we were texting back and forth before everything happened. And I told him, I love you, I'm proud of you, and go have fun. And you can do that. You can have fun in a way where you're making the decisions that on your family, on yourself, and on your future self. Again, I'm so grateful to be here. God bless you guys. Sorry I was late again, but that's why. So thank you for having me.
So she completely breaks down into this emotional climax and educates nobody on anything. Nobody cares to hear that crap come out of your mouth, dude. Nobody cares to hear you speak about Jesus, love, Christ, doing the right thing. Nobody cares. That is not why you were brought to that school. What happened? Did you not prepare? Just completely unprepared. I think that there was some news article that said that she had claimed she was completely unprepared. Well, that's not very professional. Where are the hundreds of millions of dollars that you've been getting to be prepared? So you've got God, heaven, soul, spiritual concepts, multiple times, abstract moral lectures about character and choices many times, her husband's assassination at least twice, modesty and gendered behavior twice, the enemy as spiritual warfare language, internet behavior warnings about keyboard warriors and phones and texting, voting vaguely and garbled, approximately just bullcrap references that she should be paying attention to because she's in a high school. Nothing about free markets, nothing about financial responsibility, nothing about limited government, nothing about the Constitution, nothing about the Bill of Rights. Any specific moment in American history was not mentioned. How government works, nothing. Zero engagement on civics, absolutely no policy of any kind. Zero, zero, zero across the board. On everything TPUSA says it exists to teach, there's nothing. She delivered nothing. So why is she in that chapter going around and requiring students to go and sit there between the buses and the school being out and listen to this message that she's trying to deliver some emotional, like she needs a freaking therapist, bro. Where's her therapist? This was not an educational assembly. And the mechanism of delivery is a crying widow who the audience is not socially permitted to criticize because she lost her husband. That's the play. And it's brilliant, actually, if you think about it in its design, even if the execution was a mess, because who's going to stand up in a school auditorium and say, this grieving woman shouldn't be here. We aren't learning about history. Nobody's going to say that. And that's exactly why she's the one they send. And governors in Texas, Nebraska, Montana, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Florida have publicly partnered with Turning Point USA to push chapters in every high school in the country. Governor Abbott threatens schools with state investigations if they block chapters. And you've got Andrew Colvett going on Fox News calling out St. John's just because they didn't want to have them in their school. This is not organic student enthusiasm. This is institutional capture at scale. TPUSA plants chapters in schools. Those chapters host federal tour stops, and the tour stops bring cabinet-level officials and the CEO to deliver content that has nothing to do with their stated mission. The Department of Education provides cover. The media is banned so they can prevent scrutiny. The assassination provides emotional leverage, and the widow provides moral authority that nobody can question in public, especially minors. It is a system that they are compelling American public school students and even private school students to go through. And I want to close with something important. This is not about Erika Kirk's grief. I believe that she has some sort of grief, obviously. The crying, the broken sentences, the inability to hold it together on stage and show up looking like a half a decent dime. Nothing. And I'm not questioning the result of her losing her husband in the worst possible way and that fact that she's suffering. But real grief does not give anyone the right to go into a public school and dump that grief onto children under the pretense of education. Real grief does not entitle you to lecture teenage girls or boys about modesty. Real grief does not authorize you to describe a murder to 15-year-olds and connect it with whether they were putting a grocery cart back at the grocery store. Here's what we need to do. If there is a club chapter anywhere, Club America, at a school that your kids are going to or near you, request their paperwork. What did TPUSA tell the administration that they'd be doing? Then ask what they actually have been doing and compare the two. Because what you're seeing here is just a glimpse because we don't get to see everything. Luckily, somebody recorded it. If your school is on the History Rocks tour schedule, show up and ask questions. If it's really educational and nonpartisan, then there's no reason to ban cameras. If you're a parent, talk to your kids. Ask them what happened at the assembly because the students at this school knew something was off. The senior knew. He said, I'm just trying to learn about American history. Listen to your kids when they tell you the truth. And share this video because TPUSA is already in over 3,500 schools. The tour is hitting all 50 states. And if this quality of what they're bringing is branded under education and they're delivering this mess, then every single community in America needs to be seeing receipts and filing some type of paperwork to keep this from continuing because this is a mess.